Welcome to 2018 US Open. We're here in the mixed division. We have Germany national team coming out against world champions Seattle BFG. First turn of the game straight away. Liam Grant alongside Aaron Morocca for the call. BFG looking to break straight off the bat. They're parked outside the end zone. Can they jam it in? Oh, and a quick chance to break goes awry. A dropped pass. Tommy Lee looking for the assist but can't get there. And another quick turn, a sloppy first point here, Aaron.
Well, that was immediate point block by number 99 on BFG. Just stabbing a hand out there and getting it.
With the disc. Again, looking to isolate the front of the end zone and doing so well. Some nice fancy footwork to stay in the end zone. Great goal, BFG break.
Absolutely, a really good self-awareness there by the receiver to see that she was really close to on the line. She balanced those responsibilities well, right? First priority, obviously catching the disc, but being able to get in the end zone right away and get this break for her team, really important first step in this game for BFG.
Leah Barron-Simmons opens us up with the first goal of the game. And again, kind of tiptoeing along that end zone line. A lot of people will tell you, don't worry too much about where you are as long as you're in bounds. But being very graceful there in getting the first goal. A nice structured offense from BFG, very much isolating the person in the front. They had the space. A shaky start for this German mixed national team.
Well, it sounds like Germany is here to get a taste of the international talent as they gear up for some European championship events coming up in their near future. So, rightfully so, maybe a little bit of nerves coming out of the gate against the reigning world championship team can be a little bit intimidating for anyone, especially when there's a little bit of wind here, although it has died down in the second round of pool play. Pretty calm environment right now with a little bit of gusty every once in a while.
Yeah, uncharacteristic from the Germans there, again, broken in the first point. Some of these players on the German roster would have played for Hässliche Erdwürkel, who finished 7th at the World Ultimate Club Championships just a few weeks ago. Spent some time traveling around the US before heading over here to Blaine, Minnesota, just outside the Twin Cities. As we see Doscher, the captain of that Hässliche Erdwürkel team. And I think the first 2 days of games, they didn't get broken, the Hässliche Erdwürkel O-line.
Wow.
Which is impressive.
That's goal. That's the goal of an O-line. Excellent work.
And you see him there, Doscher. He's going to be very active on the field for them. A talisman, if you will. And a bit more steady from their offense now. Oh, and a lot of people cutting into the same place, and it is Doscher being marked by Hagen. Good matchup there. And the lefty backhand again. Looks like there's a call in the field to pick. It will go back. Andrew Hagen given the task of marking their big active receiver. Played for a Revolver back in the day as well. Still at the ripe young age of 29. As he touches this back in. And he goes for the lefty. This time it's the swing. We've seen one or two of those already from the Germans. Prunes around, great swinging. And it's the first goal for Stefan Doscher. Much better from the Germans.
Very patient offensive look there in the end zone. Finding receivers who already have the separation on their person rather than forcing into tight spaces, at least after that initial 4 people in one space kind of bailout look. Looks like they're very comfortable with each other and very confident in their O-line.
Yeah, Doscher there had an incredible performance at the World Ultimate Club Championships, making a name for himself on the Hässliche Erdwürkel team, which means ugly aardvarks in German.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and often they say, like, on the field, like, oh, that was a very ugly play, or like, that's so ugly. They've kind of reinvented the word for their club team, but plenty of other top German teams represented here. A few on Colorado, Karlsruhe, players from Siegel's women's team. So I'm picking from all different parts of Germany. But notably, the German mixed team has won gold at the World Beach Championships before.
Oh.
Yeah, going back to, I think, Dubai 2015. But I don't believe any of the players are on this roster. They actually keep the beach and grass rosters entirely separate. At least they're doing so now anyway.
That's really interesting.
So I was going to say there's 2 World Championship teams here, but that wouldn't be quite correct. As we do know, Seattle BFG just won Worlds in the Thunderdome indoors in the All-American final. And yeah, a team that literally started in 2016, 3 years ago, to then win the World Championships is pretty much unheard of.
Absolutely. Pulling in a lot of really interesting personnel changes for the full Worlds roster. A lot of transitions over the years, picking up some big name players from around that Seattle area into Vancouver even.
Yeah, and this their first time at the US Open. Weren't even given a bid before, I do believe. Having to work themselves up the ranks.
A meteoric rise.
Yeah, hope they continue to rise. Kawabata on the disc. Looks for the dump. Now the backhand going up. That's being caught by the wind. Well read. Lindsay Simon Fox getting high in the stall count. Goes for the high release backhand. Does so well to cut through that wind. Oh, and again, leading pass. Being called in by observer. That one definitely close to the line. Setting up their end zone offense now. Kawabata in the front. Inside channel is there, and they get it off. Saw that one coming a mile away. German defense, maybe not so much.
Perhaps, but if you have a Kawabata on your team, you look for her often. Very solid player, very experienced club player in both divisions. One of those personnel pickups that is so huge for BFG this year. I would call her ISO all the time.
Yeah, Kawabata previously playing with Traffic from Vancouver. Crossed over the border now to play with the Seattle team. Also was part of that World Game squad for Team Canada. 2 incredible accolades.
Right, assisted by Crystal Koo there, using her fakes to communicate with Kawabata about what look she was looking for in that tight space. Wind picking up just briefly in that moment, just suddenly, kind of a big gust came. So that was the key moment for that offensive point, well read by the receiver, and pretty brave for that backhand to go up in the first place.
So that was the first offensive point for BFG, and they hold no turns. Bit of a wayward hook, but it was well read by Lindsay Simon Fox. They're going to be using her as a receiver quite a lot in this game. Tommy Lee with the high arcing pull, lands inbounds, rolls out the side of the end zone. This can be walked up to the front corner. That is a magnificent pull. And it gives you time for your defense to set up. Okay, it's not in the back of the end zone, but it's the front corner isn't a great place to be either. Looks like they've set up a side stack here, the Germans. Side stack actually on the active side. They all clear out. And an easy undercut coming under, lays out in front of it though. I like that little offensive strategy, a bit unusual.
Yeah, anything that's a little bit different and new, I love seeing. And that's one of the great things about an international tournament like this, is that these different identities form.
Getting high in the stall count, goes to the bail throw. Tommy Lee in the best position perhaps in the pack of Germans, comes down with it, or at least gets enough on the disc. So BFG with a chance to break again. Sam Pickle. Oh, high release pass right into the lane. Great poach to get to this back for the Germans. Now flat disc goes up into space. This one looks on the money, and that is a great goal for the Germans. Svenja Pruns, the Seagull player, tying this one up.
Yeah, really glad to see her getting the disc back in the end zone. She made that fantastic bid under off of that side stack play earlier this point. Clearly revved up and ready to give her all to this team. Working really hard in the backfield right now.
Yeah, Seagulls, one of the top women's teams out of Germany. We're competing at the World Ultimate Club Championships as well. Yeah, game is tied up. BFG one break after coming out on defense in the first point.
There we go.
So Germany on defense, and I'm surprised to see Stefan Doscher on this D-line for the German team. Didn't play the last O point, you know, was one of the best O players at the tournament a few days ago in Cincinnati. But I think it just shows the depth of this German team, that maybe Hässliche rely on him quite a lot, but happy to score that O point without him. As we see a side stack as well from BFG.
Yeah, Germany seems to be throwing a little bit of a zone look here, where they've got their ladies in a bit of a handler, 3 of their ladies in a bit of a handler look, and then the downfield players switching back and forth to take lanes away. This is a pretty interesting look. Again, this is one of the things I really like about this tournament, is seeing the strategy from across the world, because it's all different.
I've actually played against this German mixed team, and it's often you see this is actually kind of a 3-2-2 zone. They'll often kind of force middle as well at times. But having kind of one male, one female player being deep and switching works quite well for them. A lot of communication, and they're using Doscher in that position. And again, BFG not going anywhere really. Had that side stack at the start, but had to change. Kawabata now to Chang. Crystal Koo as well. Alongside Simon at the back, but it's a turn, and Germans get to get their break back if they can convert this. Picking up quickly now in a vert stack. Good cut to the open side. Oh, in a tight space, and looks like they've gifted it back to the Seattle team.
I would expect them to stay in this poach look again, because it did slow down the effort of BFG, and it has caused 2 miscues from BFG.
Yeah, 2 wild passes trying to throw over that zone, but going for very flat passes over the zone and very long, and that one just sailing out past the sideline. Now Doscher, oh, that is a leading pass. Not sure she was quite ready for it, but it's going to work out. We'll call it visionary for now.
Trust. It's all about trust.
Jakobsen sporting the red and white cap. Ponytail shooting out the back. Oh, and again, an unusual swing pass, but it works out. They know what they're doing. Zone. BFG have been struggling with it so far, and that was almost the Callahan as he comes flying across there. But now leaving some gaps. They do recover. And that was Justin Wallace for the German team, who came flying across. Looks like a foul called. Debatable whether the disc was in or out of our hands when that little paw got to it. Looks like it's uncontested, coming in as stall 1.
Amazing to see 2 teams who are already in that rhythm of using all the world's signaling.
Yeah, it's great to have the hand signals for fans and commentators alike. Again, BFG comfortable swinging in the zone, but there ain't much space in the middle. Great communication downfield from this German zone. Getting some yards now, though. Kerry Chang. Close to the halfway line. Plenty of touches for all the handlers. Adam Simon back there as well. Thinks about the deep shot, but too many people in the lane. And again, they're at the halfway line now. Getting some yards on the swings. Perhaps the Germans getting a little tired up the front of the cup. Now 10-15 yards out. Looks like the Germans are staying with their zone defense. Let's see if they transition now. Still appear to be in the zone, which is unusual to keep the zone this close to the end zone.
I was going to say, I usually expect to see a zone look kind of fired out of maybe within striking distance of the red zone, but Germany holding fast to their strategy right now and really slowing down the pace of play for BFG.
And the wind has significantly picked up since this morning, so you got to feel Germans happy to force BFG to take on lots of passes, albeit short and to unmarked players. And now getting some yards. You feel they could try and punch it in. We're back to Ku, who's been playing axes, orchestrating the offense. Again, it's such good positioning from the German players. I can't see an open receiver, but they look for some vision. Great twinkle toes in their front corner. That one looked a bit spicy, but they knew what they were doing. Great goal.
Yeah, well placed for that receiver. And again, just knowing where everybody is on the team, coming off of a really huge tournament, obviously, where everything is fine-tuned and you're at your peak. So relying on that chemistry that was formed against the world's best for sure. And finding those narrow margins where only your receiver can catch that.
I believe that is Root wearing the 98 shorts, but actually the 55 jersey, but I think he usually wears number 98. And I think the Germans are very happy with how that zone defense went. They got one turn, couldn't convert it, and then forced a lot of passes, probably in the 30, 40s, 50 passes, who knows.
Absolutely. There's the immediate strategy of, can we use this to cause an error now so that we can potentially get a break? But there's also the long-term strategy. Anytime that you throw a set like that, you're tiring out the other team's offensive line. You're giving your own team's offensive line a chance to regroup or talk or get water and refuel on the sideline. And then the longer you can create an offensive, or the longer you can make an offense uncomfortable, right? Or go to their secondary looks or stay in their thinking brain instead of just relying on rhythm, the more you're setting up future errors to happen later in the game when there might be fatigue as well.
Now the Germans back on offense, going upwind. Keep it in the handlers for now.
I forgot to confirm, but it does look like the ratio is 4 women right now. That means that one of the end zones is designated as the gender indicating end zone.
I believe it's the end zone on the right in the first half, and it'll switch to the end zone on the left after halftime. Prunes. To Hogan. Goes for the quick give, go up line, and that is not how you throw a flick. Puts her hands on her head. A little miscue there.
I think she was just trying to go a little bit fast. She saw the opening. It was a right away or not at all throw. She chose the right away. I'm sure she knows what she did.
Yeah, very
and
experienced player. Nathalie Guimard. 39 years old, I do believe the oldest player on the roster for this German team. Uncharacteristic turnover from her. Big crossfield hammer from Mario O'Brien, wearing the luminous hat. Something he's been coaching for a long time, so he looked so casual throwing that. Wearing the sleeveless jersey, which it's not exactly roasting here in Minnesota today, but has his tan out there.
There are a lot of people who just dislike sleeves, and it's not about temperature, it's about freedom of motion, especially if you like to throw hammers, right? That extra fabric might be a nuisance.
Yeah, Julia Bladen sporting a similar look there as well. The Germans throwing the zone, and that's the pass you maybe want to do against the zone. Into the mid, stretch the deeps, the scuba over the top. Pickle now to Hagen. To O'Brien, playing with 3 men behind the disc. 4 women downfield. And this could be another break for Seattle. And interesting, the German offense choosing to go into the zone after turning over, which is, again, is a bit unusual. It's hard sometimes to set up the zone. Call on the field looks like might have been an injury or fouls. A toe has been stood on. Tom Droscher maybe got a little stud to the toe as he limps off.
A few places there where there was some incidental contact, but all smiles all around.
Sam Pickle, also the leader in a death metal band.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I try to get more information off about it, but that's all he was given.
You can't just drop that detail and not back it up with some kind of story.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll be playing at the tournament party. To be confirmed. Hagen to O'Brien. Lily Gu in space in the front corner of the end zone. They'll swing it around. Now the shot is there, and again, very patient. Looking for that 100% option. O'Brien, quick give go.
Yeah, BFG showing kind of two sides of the same coin. Willing to go over the top and throw some risky, quick hits. Also willing to sit back and settle into, you know, pretty conservative play and pretty smart decision making.
O'Brien looking a bit frantic on the disc as he tries to dissect this zone. And they're amazing outside the end zone, this German team. That was almost like a hook, a chest height. Did well to hold on to it.
Yep, trying to hit some precision spots. Again, really interesting that Germany is not firing out of that zone, even right on the end zone line, but very effectively taking lanes away and forcing BFG to work through a lot of different options. Kudos to BFG for working the disc completely horizontally on several different swings. Of course, making more space in that defense so that they have an opportunity to create a hole later and just rifle something through that hole when it develops.
Yeah, I think they're the right tactic there with this kind of 3-2-2 zone by the Germans. When you have the full field to go, throw that scuba to the midfield. Stretch the deeps, isolate some space in the middle, and throw the scuba. But when you get to the end zone, you can't do that. There is enough space. You just got to swing it around and wait patiently for essentially a German player to be out of position by an inch or two and laser that pass, thread the needle, and did that very well. And it kind of seemed like that their male handlers back a lot, BFG, O'Brien, Hagen, touching the disc a lot, and the female cutters just spreading the field, giving them space.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how both teams utilize those handler sets. Germany also was running their O-line through a male handler set with their, on the 4 lady points, all 4 women downfield receiving. There are a lot of interesting tactics to use in mixed ultimate, and one of those is how you use the ratio to your advantage. I also have noticed a lot of, in the German zone, the women are doing a lot of the work on the mark and in those handler spaces, which is another thing that is a little bit rare.
A side stack there from Germany, and confusion as Stefan Doscher was isolated, ran deep, made a brilliant undercut to gain 20-30 yards, but as he did that, disc thrown to the end zone. Poor communication as the cut was clear and obvious, but just thrown at the wrong time. So O'Brien back out there to look for another break. This time they'll stay with the match defense. Going back in their own end zone now, BFG, but they like to play possession ultimate. Just keeping the disc. Terrier. Playing this horizontal stack. The German O-line doing well to shut down the undercuts. Fakes the deep shot. Tommy Lee. Now they're getting it to their cutters. Austin Barden. Oh, tight pass up the sideline. Threading the needle. That was almost macked off the belly of his teammate. Not sure if he saw him clearing through there. But it'll work out for BFG. Everything doing so far. Very aggressive swings. Lee now. Oh, and maybe took his eye off. Had to adjust his body. Terrier, who made some great cuts in that point, gives it back to the Germans. Let's see if they run that side stack again.
Yeah, the wind seems a little shifty here, which means that a disc could come in at alternating speeds, which I think might be what just happened there. Coming in a little bit faster than maybe he was anticipating, or at least different than he saw it coming off the hand.
And a shot to Doscher. This time he is going deep. Can he get there? Oh, and the wind just carries it and it fades, and looked like it was on point for a second. Difficult to have the loft on those downwind ones.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is part of the tactic, but it looks to me like Germany might be willing to play a little bit of huck and play D. They really like that zone. The zone is doing a very effective job of making BFG work really hard for their offensive points and travel 70 yards to score. And it doesn't seem like a terrible decision to set up some isolated huck looks, right, on those clean downwind hold or downwind options, and then go back to your strength.
Mario O'Brien calling a timeout there. Looked a little tired running up to the front of the end zone there. Played the last 2 points. You know, he's 36 years old now, been around the block a few times. I'm not sure if he's calling it for himself or everyone else, but he'll be happy to get the breather.
Well,
and, you know,
there are a lot of timeouts available in this tournament, so I think it's always a good opportunity to regroup. And we're part of the way through the first half. It's not a terrible strategic option to take a timeout now. They'll have another one if they need one later in the half. But to get really close to the upwind end zone and to have a bit of a miscue like that is worth talking about. And certainly if they can score this upwind here, they extend their lead. They give their D-line a little bit of grace and an opportunity to make plays going downwind.
Yeah, we see there the German offense trying to isolate Stefan Doscher. Got free both times, just haven't been able to hit him. I'd like to see maybe Lasse Hugen, one of the other Haslish Africa players, maybe putting 2 or 3 of those players on the same line to get that chemistry, because they aren't quite firing on all cylinders in this early stages in the game, the German team. And perhaps, you know, it's been a while since they played together. Played a tournament in Europe a few months ago, Talampaya, big mixed tournament in Switzerland. Finished 5th there, losing to the French. And the disc is back in now, O'Brien. Setting up an offset vert stack, one-hander back behind the disc. Gets the lateral cut to Lee. Bend it, gets it upfield. To Baron Simmons. Now Lee thinks about the big backhand put. Doscher tries to step across. Oh, gets enough pressure in a good body position. Gets to this back. Might it be 3rd time lucky for the Germans? News. Hits upfield. No continuation cut. Coming straight away from the Germans. Trying to get the swing, getting high in the stall count. Looks like there's a stall out being called. We see a German player in the back tapping on his head, which is the WFDF hand signal for stall out, and I do believe the USAU hand signal for stall out. Unusual for it to be called and possibly contested without actually a throw coming, you know. We see her, she was trying to get the high release throw off, the low release throw, went for the no release throw, which is never a great option. But she's holding on to it for now, probably calling fast count perhaps.
The observers will confer about this and come to some sort of agreement. It was very good team defense by BFG. They created a lot of interruption in those lanes. It made every throw available look unavailable. And so that was a really good lockdown defensive sequence for BFG. So no matter the outcome here, BFG already set up to play good defense here, already in the zone.
Let's say discussion on the observers. It's possible they will make a binding call here. I believe that they would have been counting the stall count as well, so maybe you're going to suggest what they think the stall was at. Discussion definitely going on a while. And it looks like it's coming in a stall 1, which I do believe maybe the observer made the call saying it wasn't a stall out, and it will go back to 1 for that reason. And Doscher is there for the easy reset this time. And that's where the German team have been really struggling now, as the resets, as the upline is caught. Parked outside the front corner, and they jam it in the jam hole. That's a good goal from Germany.
A surprising ability to make space in the narrowest lane on the field humanly possible. Not rare in our sport for people to make that happen. But really nice angular cuts and really powerful explosive change of direction, especially on this last cut here. Getting body position on the under, sealing off the defender. and putting herself in a position where the thrower had a lot of room to kind of not throw her a perfect throw and for her to have kind of a large area that she could cover and could catch in.
And that is Franca, the player who played with CUSB Bologna Shout, coming out of Bologna at a World Ultimate Club Championship. So played with some Italians last week, some Germans this week. Getting a good European flavor in her ultimate career.
Yeah, it's got to be interesting to bounce back and forth between teams and cultures and you know, strategic sets. But from what it looks like, this German team is really smart and really has a good bond that they're developing. Playing a zone with people that you don't know or haven't played together very long with usually comes down to your experience and your like game IQ and savvy. So just speaks to their level of experience and their level of knowledge, and that in that the zone is being as successful as it is.
This is actually a 2-year plan for the German national team. So rather than every year changing up the roster, they're staying with the same players for 2 years. And that's something they actually copied from the French national team, who knocked them out at WGC in London 2 years ago. So taking a leaf out of their book, the French team finishing 4th, the Germans having to settle for 9th. And now we see a hook go up, and Kerry knocks off his luminous hat before chasing this one down, and he was able to get the pancake catch. Brilliant speed there from Kerry Chang. Spent the first part of that cut adjusting his hat and eventually knocking it off.
No, very good closing speed there. Excellent read. This is a lot of spin on this flick going up. But that is the downwind side. So he was also able to rein it in enough that it could sit out for his receiver instead of getting all the power with the wind behind you and knocking it out of bounds.
He gets his goal and he gets his hat back off the ground.
That's important. You have to get the hat back. I don't know if the good things count if you don't get your hat back.
Quite a collection of luminous clothes for this BFG roster. I'm not exactly sure where they're getting it. I don't know if there's like a full moon party shop or...
I think it's got to be a team order. I think you have to go all in on that kind of stuff. But you know, we did talk to BFG before the game, and we were told that neon is, you know, part of the team identity. It's really important to them. It also looks pretty great, and you can always see your receivers in your peripheral vision because they're in some sort of bright color. So that's pretty helpful.
Yeah, almost blinding this BFG team. We're quite close to the road here, this showcase field. So if they walk close to the road, it's good to have that luminous as well. Be safe, be seen. There's Hagen with the pull. Now leading by 2 against this German side. Grinding out the onions again is Fenja Prunes. Doscher. Good leading pass. This is more the offense we're used to from the Germans. Gaining yards on every pass. Now going for the swing into space. The continuation cut is there, and that is just outside the end zone. They'll go around again. Fakes beautifully, and then there's the lefty. Plenty of those coming from this German team, and that was the offense you typically associate with Germany.
Yeah, that was really efficient. A lot of these downfield cutters got a lot of yards in one go, and then as they neared the end zone, very patient horizontal work. But I really like this kind of right away or not at all style of throws. They're putting up the kind of wobbly, chancy things on stall 1 when the defenders aren't paying attention to it. So even though they're not perfect and they're floating a little bit, because they're expecting them, they're leading in with that advantage. It's really cool to see that kind of trust happen right away on stall 1. It makes everything move quicker, and you get to take advantage of the space a lot faster.
Yeah, they seem very comfortable just throwing into space, further resets, put it somewhere that BFG player can't get to it. You need some good skill level of throwing, especially in this wind, to do that. But they've executed it very well. Kawabata there, talking to this BFG O-line. Spent some time in a cabin on a lake in Minnesota, I believe.
That's what you do in Minnesota. You find a lake and you go there.
Is that where you're staying for your tournament accommodation? Is there?
Oh, I live here.
Okay, in a cabin?
No, sadly not in a cabin.
A lake boat? Where?
Right. That's Minnesota is all about the lakes. We have thousands and thousands of them.
Leave the space for that player to then get free. Kawabata knows this and times her continuation cut off of that. So something you see quite a lot now in Ultimate is the side stack, the isolation, but actually what you do is you flood to the middle, the vertical stack, and then hitting that person at the back. Because nearly every time the person marking the person at the back is peeling off, they're not honestly marking that person. So it worked very effectively there. They got those 2 passes downfield almost the whole way. Unfortunately, Kawabata then throws that wandering pass, possibly behind the stall count, but they have the disc back now. I believe it's coming in the stall 4. Chang, the up line. Oh, and that was blistering pace from Crystal Koo. And as the reset close to the end zone, you don't want to let that pass off. You don't get beaten up lines straight away.
No, but she's got wheels. She made one move, and then it became a foot race, and it was very well placed. Clearly the plan from the get-go, always nice when the timeout plan goes to Chuck, but good determination. And that's just knowing your team, right? Let's isolate one of our star women in the space. Let's make space for her. The other thing that BFG did really well there is they angled their vert stack away, and they made sure to keep defenders out of that space. That can be a very dangerous hospital situation for an upline cutter if there's a poach coming off the back of the stack. So by angling the stack away, they were able to draw those defenders into a more honest position and give Crystal all of the space.
Some cool stuff coming on later today at the fields here in Minnesota. There's a Equity and Diversity Forum, I believe, happening at 5 p.m.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. It's going to be in a panelist format, and many of those panelists are, guests to Minnesota. So as a resident here, I'm really excited to hear about the unique experiences from each one of them. Members of some of the international team, the Black Widows, which is a multi-country South Asian team, the first of its kind to compete in the U.S. Open. Member of the Atlanta Ozone team, Andrea Palmer, and obviously members of some of the other groups that we hear a lot about. I believe there's some representatives from Age Up who are going to be on the panel, and a member of the Kansas City Wicked is also going to be speaking. It's just going to be a really good opportunity to hear from more voices in the community that, differ from most of us, and we're really excited to host that event tonight.
A failed greatest attempt results in a turnover for Germany, so BFG with a chance to extend their lead to 3 points. Back there is Tommy Lee, quite isolated in the handler space. A lot of cuts coming under to the middle. Tries the tight window and is gathered up by the German players. You can see the defense smothering BFG, and it was an uncontested foul. You see the German player with the outstretched arms in front signaling no contest. So this will come back in and stall 1, and he'll be delighted with that because he didn't have a lot of options there, Lee. But now back with him is Simmons. Getting the under now. Anna Maria. Lee heavily involved almost every second pass. Backhand force from the Germans. That one very low. But Anna Maria getting down and dirty to keep it alive. Alyssa Sue. Up to Lee, deep shot could be there. Holsters this one, takes the easy under. Looks like it's a call in the field. Pick being called. And interestingly, the observer is before this tournament got together, and they said they're going to actually do the WFDF hand signal for pick, which is that kind of gun show, 90-degree elbow action. I think hands on hips is the USCU one, so they're doing a bit of both. And eventually they get the turnover. Possession back with the Germans. Looks like they're calling a timeout. Plenty of timeout in this first half.
BFG there on offense really kind of struggling to get into a continuation flow. Pretty reliably able to get one initiating cutter open, but then having to go back into the handler set. Germany is doing a really good job of pressuring both on the mark and in those handler lanes, and making them go into spaces that I don't really think BFG wants to be in. So hopefully, you know, we'll be able to see BFG adapt to that kind of defense and hopefully free up some continue cutters so that the vertical momentum can continue. I really like what Germany is doing on defense right now, though, and I think if they can continue doing it, they should open themselves up for some break opportunities later in this game, especially as fatigue sets in for BFG.
Yeah, one thing they did really well there on defense in this point was shut down the unders. And you can see BFG aren't too confident, or maybe want to play that safe game of grinding out the unders, but clearly the German players were standing under. Some of the other handler marks are kind of poaching in the lane and made that under middle space very, very clogged. You know, Tommy Lee could get his resets a lot of time, but throwing under to the middle of the field was very difficult. Didn't want to take the deep shot on. Now the Germans have it back. Big point if they want to stay in this game, keep it in one.
This is an interesting setup for Germany. Their initial set play here coming out of the timeout was not a typical stack look.
And that
BFG
one
defender
thrown straight to Pickle. And that's a couple of times I think the Germans have been caught out by the blistering speed of this BFG roster, because the upline was no longer on. The window was closed. And threw straight to Pickle, who has it now. To Lee. And a great goal by Sarah Bendit finishes off that break point for BFG.
Yeah, a long grinded out point on both sides of the disc here. Bendit, of course, had a pretty stellar layout bid attempt on the turnover prior to this. A full extension, like powerful effort, but it was just a bit too far. So glad to see her rewarded in the end zone for her effort on that point. Obviously, a lot of lanes are more difficult to throw in for BFG, so everything looked a little bit tighter that point. I think as they start communicating more with their fakes, they'll be able to make some more separation happen for their downfield receivers.
For anyone watching on social media, feel free to get involved. Give us a little comment, say where you're watching from. If we can, we'll try and read some stuff out. Perhaps some people in Germany sitting down for dinner, I believe, right now. Might be watching the game.
Oh, that's a great time to watch an Ultimate game over dinner. The official hashtag for this event is US Open Champs as well. So if you have any Twitter commentary or you have any questions for the organizing parties of this tournament, that's certainly a good way to follow along with all of the things that are going on here this weekend. US Open, of course, only one half of this event. And for the adult ICC teams in attendance, really a midpoint for their season, not the final culmination. But starting tomorrow, the youth will take the field. YCC Club Championships, actually the culmination of that season, looking to play through elimination and win a championship. So that'll be exciting.
Yeah, and interestingly, I was covering the Ring of Fire game earlier, and the likes of Nethercutt and other players are only playing today in the men's division. They're going coaching tomorrow, putting their coaching duties first. Oh, we see a drop by Goldbush there. And now a chance to take half. BFG in a 4-point lead. O'Brien to Lily Gu, one of the captains, wants to get a sister name, and a great assist is that. Brilliant way to take half. Lily Gu combining with Alyssa Zhu, and Lily very much represents the culture of this team, the attitude, one of the captains. Maybe not one of the star players but by any means, but everyone loves Lily. She oozes fun at all times. When they won the World Championship, she was buzzing on the side and had a speaker in hand, getting everyone pumped up. Not the tallest player, but has a big heart for sure.
Absolutely, but on a team of this caliber, everyone is good, everyone knows their role, everyone contributes, and it's important to see, and I'm not keeping statistics, but a number of BFG players have thrown an assist or scored in this game. A number have contributed on big yardage gains and big defensive efforts. So truly a team effort across the board. I mean, I don't think that you could win a national championship if there was a steep drop-off in talent. So a lot of credit to this team for utilizing all the pieces on their roster, for sure.
A tough opening half for the Germans. BFG showcasing why they're the world champions. A recent crown they got. But yeah, just rising more and more in the world of Ultimate. And you know, maybe a year or two ago, people would have said, you know, Mixtape is the big team out of Seattle. And possibly BFG is a step below them, but that has quickly changed, and they're two of the best teams in the world. I do believe they'll be going head-to-head later.
Yep, they're both in this pool.
Yeah, that'll be a big grudge match.
For sure. Still a lot of good things that we're seeing from Germany, though. I'm excited for the second half. They have definitely had some chances, and they've selected some defensive sets that have interrupted the flow of BFG and created some opportunities for themselves. It's a game of inches, right? On a lot of these unders, they're a few inches off. On a lot of the deeps, they're a few inches off. If they can really nail that down, I think that we'll see them make a run in the second half.
As we see there, the mixed division, this game, a Pool A showdown. Third seed taking on 8th seed. Interesting, the top 2 seeds coming out of one city, Seattle. That just shows how good Seattle Ultimate is. I'm not sure what Fire Ultimate Club there in the bottom right in Pool B are doing. I do believe they're a men's team, but maybe trying some mixed division action. I'm not so sure.
We'll have to double check that, I think, with the book. The other notable thing, of course, about the Seattle scene is their commitment to community and development. So many of these players are either YCC coaches and are kind of doing double duty this weekend, or have coached over their career. I know that that's one of the the founding principles of the Seattle community, and it's like very obvious that talent kind of trickles down, and when you can be coached by a world's caliber player, your level of talent increases as well, which is why the Seattle YCC teams are so powerful when they come to the YCC championships every year. And not only in the U20 division, but also in the U17 division, like kind of across the young women's, the mixed, and the young men's divisions. They're a powerhouse, and it's because of that trickle-down effect for sure.
I've just checked my sheets there, and that is actually Fire Ultimate Club out of Bogota, Colombia, adding a bit of South American flavor to this mixed division. So we actually have Fire Ultimate Club from Bogota, Colombia. We have Fire of London here as well. We also have Ring of Fire.
It's a lot of fire.
It's a lot of fire. I don't know where the fire services are in Minneapolis, but Minneapolis Plain. But maybe we should just let them know, give them a little warning.
Yeah.
Things can get pretty hot here.
So you've watched this German team, or many of these players on the German team, compete in a number of different locales. Is there anything that you think like defines German Ultimate?
One word: boring. I mean that in the best way possible. I actually came up against this German mixed national team in London. I was the captain of the Irish mixed national team at the time. And we probably played our best game, as did they, and we lost 15-13, but there was basically no turnovers all game. They were very safe and solid. A lot of the same personnel, maybe missing 1 or 2 players. Possibly just couldn't afford to come over to the US. Always very difficult for teams from Europe to bring a full roster. But yeah, they've done very well in the mixed division and club and country level. As we said earlier, bring a lot of people from Hässliche Erdwürkel onto this roster, finishing 7th at the World Ultimate Club Championships. Hässliche, one of the top teams in Europe, but they also always seem to lose to Rut, one of the Dutch teams, the young Dutch team, having lost the last 3 games, 15-14 to them, knocking them twice out of the European champions, knocking them out of a windmill tournament in Amsterdam. But yeah, getting a lot of experience at that Erdwerkel team and bringing it onto this German side. But it's always going to be difficult for a European team coming over here and taking on the best team in the world.
Right. One of the other things that I learned before the game was that there's a lot of cooperation from European teams, their adult national teams and the U24 teams. So it sounds like this German national team is trying to be kind of on cycle with the German U24 team so that both teams can scrimmage each other and like learn similar sets and develop at the same rate. And that sounds like it's true in France and Italy as well. Is that something that you see across European Ultimate?
Not always. So yeah, I think you're right in saying those countries, France, Germany, have very set national teams. Pick them early, often have 2-year cycles. Players who play with under 24s who might be good enough to get on the senior team don't play with them. You won't see cross divisions, beach and sand. While in Ireland, it's very much the case. You could be on the under 24 men's team and then be on the mixed beach national team. It's not that at all. They're very separate. We don't train together or isolate each other. So often you can find yourself on several national teams. But as I spoke to this German team before, none of the mixed beach champions are here. It's not like there's much going on in the world of mixed beach ultimate right now in terms of national teams, but that's the way they're doing it. They're keeping them separate. Perhaps lets them build more chemistry and train more.
It's definitely an interesting way to provide structure to your national teams. Doesn't sound like that would be a feasible track for the USA national teams. I know this weekend, because it's the YCC Championships, there's also a talent ID camp this afternoon for U20 players, which I understand is an opportunity for players to kind of showcase themselves and get on the radar for the national team selections. So that round of tryouts coming soon, and certainly for most of these YCC players, a viable option. So many of them are already so talented, 17 and 18 years old, and they have a little bit of time yet to train and develop before that national team selection is going to occur. So it's always fun to see like the future of tomorrow showcased at these YCC tournaments. It would be really interesting to see the U24 teams from those Europe teams early in their development process too.
Yeah, and it was a difficult one, having such a big pool of players to get onto one of those junior USA teams. You pretty much have to show up when the coach is there. These showcases games, it's not good enough to be good at whatever local league you're at when it's important, when the camera's on you, or when you're having your blitz to show your best, because there's a lot of players to choose from. And I think, as you're saying, it probably isn't feasible for USA to copy what German national team is doing. I also think that maybe it's not the best way to develop Ultimate in your country, because let's be honest, Ultimate players have so much time and money, and if you're going to more national team events and trainings, you're probably going to less tournaments with your club. And perhaps, definitely was the debate in Ireland that we said we should focus more on our clubs. You know, a lot of people go into World Ultimate Club Championships because you can train more with your club, and that's going to have a knock-on effect with the national team, right? If you're training more your club, you're playing more big events to your club, you're going to improve as a player. Albeit you may not have the same chemistry this German team is going to have, but perhaps you have more time and freedom to train with your local club and improve as a player individually.
It's always interesting to hear how the international community kind of develops that talent and what pools of talent they're selecting from. I know in the US, we have a diverse set of talent that it finds it hard to showcase themselves, whether they are in more remote areas of the United States instead of these, hubs of Ultimate like Seattle or Boston or the Triangle area. There are good players developing all over the country, and I think sometimes they need a little bit of an extra push to even apply to try out for Worlds, but there's no harm in asking. And one of my favorite things that I've heard recently on some of these spotlight videos that have been coming out about elite players is just make other people say no to you, right? Put your name out there, apply for the thing. The worst thing that can happen is that you don't get invited, but putting your name out there and trying is an important step. And no matter where you're from, you're probably good enough to have your name in the mix. So the more people that do that, the better for our community long term, I think.
There you have it, folks. Erin Maraca putting her name in the hat for the U.S. national team. Gonna be filling out that application, as should you all, as we see this drone shot of the German zone. Back in after half. Seattle BFG in the lead against the German national team, but looks like they got a break opportunity straight away with that zone being effective yet again. Deep shot is there, but he's gonna holster it. Germans need to get back in this game, and this is a good opportunity to do so. Having to go up.
Nice read.
And get that one. Good pressure for Simon Fox, but can't get the disc back. Trying to get free, the German players eventually do. That IO break allows for the continuation. Oh, a dangerous shot to the end zone. Takes position. Great body work. Beautiful break for the Germans. Nico Schulze, I think that's their first break of the game.
It might very well be. You know, the German zone, again, applying enough pressure to BFG on offense to get them to go a little bit faster than they were ready to go, opening up that poach block for Germany. Again, the break throw early in this point, opening up a lot of space for this continue. It was interesting to see that the initial deep look is what I think the thrower wanted, but the cutter checked back. So to have that continue happen after all, that throw was really well placed. Put him right in a position where he had body position to ensure that that break happened at all.
Justin Wallace almost throwing over his receiver to get that pass to the end zone on the break side. Nico Schulze just so well there, not running to this straight away, just stepped across his defender and just took away the bid. The bid was gone. No more pressure. That's what we want to do. Position is 9/10 of the loss sometimes in the game of Ultimate when you have a good throw to the end zone like that. And yeah, that's what the Germans needed. They were against the ropes in the first half, but have come out punching now, getting the first break.
The wind has also settled down a bit, so not quite a factor right now, but maybe we'll see a little bit more German zone here. And if they can get a turnover here and punch in what would be a downwind, or what was in the first half, then we could see a little bit of a momentum swing in this game, which might be really exciting for everyone at home.
And the Germans out with the zone again. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And you see BFG really trying to stretch it there, spreading out the handlers, having a fourth person come in for a small yard gain. And there's a lot of fakes there. I'm not sure if anyone's biting on them. And again, getting some yards on this near side. Kawabata just about staying in bounds. Rifles one to the end zone. Will it stay in field? Perhaps just the wrong edge. Thought about the greatest as he shuffled down the sideline, but that one a little too far.
That's going to come in pretty far upfield for where that disc went out. Again, this German zone, I don't think they're contesting any of the swings. They're just asking BFG to throw more passes and be more focused. And that's really been effective in causing some miscues and poor looks from the BFG offense.
Kawabata poaching in the lane. That is a big hammer. Not sure if that's going to work out. Oh, wow. My word. What an astonishing grab out of the top drawer. Trailing edge hammer grab.
We're going to need to see that again. When he lined up for this hammer, it did not look like anyone was over there.
I'm not sure if anyone was over there.
No, but the edge held, giving his receiver enough of an opportunity to make a very focused catch. Great read.
A flash of inspiration from Tom Droscher, the 24-year-old. That was gargantuan.
That's huge. That's 2 points in a row for this German team. Hopefully getting a little bit of momentum under their belts here. Anything can happen, and if the wind picks up again and plays that eighth defender and makes everything difficult for everyone, wow, just carry that through. Anybody willing to make a big play to help their team with that momentum, we could see a little bit of a run here from Germany. That would be great. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, see BFG calling it timeout, trying to squish the momentum gained by the Germans. And I was a little worried that BFG might run away with this game, but the Germans certainly didn't think that way. They've come out all guns blazing.
Certainly happens when you win a Worlds tournament or any tournament, right? You end up with a target on your back, and everyone is going to maybe show up a little bit more for your game to show that they can hang with a championship team like this. So good on Germany for coming out of the gate of that half a little stronger than the first half. Good mental toughness there too, to focus on yourselves and what you're good at, and to try to use the opportunities that are available to you.
What do you think about the distribution of war paint on Kawabata's face? Because there's some big old blocks of paint. Often you see the 2-stripe, maybe a smaller 1-stripe, but they're just 2 little cinder blocks on her face.
Yeah, I mean, BFG BFG has a certain style and character, and however these people decide to express their team or their preferences. I know there's some superstition involved in kind of the way Ultimate players put themselves together for a game too, so this is probably something that she's been developing over a number of years. I don't know, she's not smearing it, and that's remarkable.
Yeah. Some nice angles from the face paint of Kawabata, a ferocious player in her own right. This German zone back out there again. The only thing that's really troubled BFG, but has now brought it back to a 2-point game. Let's see what they talked about after timeout. I'd like to see maybe Mary O'Brien get on the field and try those hammers into the mid space, because that's where you can see the only space is. But now they thread it to the Kawabata. Three players back. Oh, and that no-look swing almost catching out Crystal Koo. And now we see the deep shot. Nobody there. Easy catch. Doscher getting caught out. The 2 deep players from Germany somehow missed the streaking deep of Lindsay Simon-Fox, who again is a magnificent cutter for this BFG team, and you cannot leave her standing alone in the end zone.
No, I doubt that that was on purpose or by design. Probably just a communication breakdown. But a good route there. Way to call attention to how open you are. A nice throw, held its edge the whole time. Good opportunity for BFG to come out of that timeout with a little bit of a new mentality and hold.
And that's one of the struggles of the zones the Germans are playing, because they're playing with 2 deeps essentially. 1 male, 1 female. And the way they're doing it is kind of 1 on either sideline, and they're switching a lot. There's going to be a lot of switching. One kind of goes deep, one kind of goes short. They might follow those players, switch it around. And a lot of zones, you often have 1 deep, and it's very obvious who's taking the last person, who's going to mind the house. When you have 2 deep defenders like that, you have to communicate a lot. And often you're quite far away from each other in the field. And just that one time they got caught out and were punished very well by the BFG team.
Perhaps a lesson too for the sideline to help echo those calls or indicate dropped coverage so that they can recover. Sideline's pretty quiet here this morning. Not sure what's going on with the energy level from either team.
But Seattle stopped the bleeding there. Convert a no point. Horizontal stack from the Germans, getting that first initiation cut. News. High pop pass. Again, much better now. The Germans, oh, and that one, spicy throw, might work out. Can he stay in bounds? That is a great shot. Creative backhand throw over Tommy Lee. And who else but Tom Droscher is on fire right now.
Really pleased with how many yards each of these German cutters are getting on their routes. It's a really hard thing to do, but it's great. Again, a decision made pretty early in the stall count, a right away or not at all kind of decision, choosing to do it right away. When the defender is not quite on their toes and ready for it, certainly create a separation there for that receiver. Nice throw.
You know, Tom Droscher is buzzing after that last big play, so you feel like throwing it to him again in the end zone. He's going to be confident. He caught that hammer. You feel like he's going to come down with a little backhand hook as well.
So I suppose if you're the German team, you're probably going to run that zone again. Which seems to be gathering steam, creating more problems for BFG as long as the communication stays intact throughout the whole course of the point. Hoping we see them with an opportunity to break here so that we can continue on with a tight game for the rest of the round.
You know, I'd like to see BFG just set up a play to try and have that upside down pass to the middle of the field, because they're letting it happen naturally, but I think a good way is to set it up. But we do see a match defense allows them to set up that hooking play. That one on the money, being called out of bounds by the observer. I thought he was in bounds. Again, this is what happens if you have the active calls. The observers have to do that one straight away. Wouldn't mind seeing that again, but the Germans waste no time.
Perhaps it was about his first point of contact. I know 1 foot looked in, but maybe he landed out first. Anyway, back on O with Germany.
And Kawabata picks up that loose disc. They're going to throw the end zone again. This one will be in bounds, but not caught by a BFG player. Stefan Doscher picks it up. And now trying to grind some unders. Keep this second half going in the right direction. Nice give-go pass by Doscher. You can see if he gets those unders, he often looks straight away to the uprushing handler to keep flow going. And again, BFG are always kind of taking away the round on the dump. They don't want that easy round. Make them do the more difficult inside, and a timeout called by the German player. A little discussion about what the stall count was at with Crystal Koo. And yeah, this is a big, big moment for Germany.
Absolutely. A few poach defensive moves there from BFG. One turned out well. Kawabata was able to get that D. Su then came across to poach the upline space, and the German team was able to recognize and find the poached player. Should be interesting to see if BFG changes anything coming out of this timeout on defense here, and to see what kind of set play Germany runs. There was that other time early in the first half where they set up a vert stack on the open side and essentially ran a flood play. Be interesting to see what else they have in the arsenal here.
And BFG had 2 shots to the end zone in this game. We see this one looked to me initially like he may have landed in bounds. I think he did. I think that first foot is down seconds before. A difficult one to call.
I agree with you.
So I think BFG will be kicking themselves and watch the replay of this game if Germany can break here. That's one thing maybe I'm not overly excited about with observers. I like people making the active call straight away. And he was in a great position, but maybe just turn to see what the other players thought. But it definitely keeps the flow of the game going. And you know, that's human error. That's natural. That happens all the time. Doscher now in the handler set. Oh, and grinds out and under. The player falls over. Probably a call. Almost thought about trying to crawl and scramble and get it. But it's an uncontested foul. Looks like he just tripped over Kerry Chang as he's coming under, so he's going to get the disc. Chang abandoning his luminous hat for the second half. So big opportunity to break. Doscher looks like he might milk this one into the end zone. He does just that. That is a break to make it a 1-point game. Tough pill to swallow for Seattle.
Yeah, especially after that huck went off and it looked so clean and well spaced to all of us. But them's the breaks, literally.
And this is a swing that's become so normal in German offense. Really high arcing swings, leading players out. You see Doscher actually stole a look to see if anyone is around him and if he could milk it a little more and land in the end zone, does just that. So yeah, we got a game in our hands. This is now a 1-point game. We see them signaling that it's going to be 4 males on the field for each team. The German team calling that the gender right now as they're in the end zone on the left. And, you know, we looked for quite a while there. BFG were in cruise control in this game, but they're going to have to pull up their socks now. Germans within touching distance.
Absolutely. Trying to control what they can control, do what they're good at. BFG certainly a tested team coming off of that Worlds tournament, but using US Open as more of an opportunity to kind of reconnect with themselves and reconnect with individual development. Again, US Open, for most of these American teams, just a midpoint in their much longer club series. And obviously the Germans on a slightly longer 2-year cycle. So everything that's happening today is just an investment in themselves, an investment in their tactics and in their individual play. Obviously nice to win games, especially in pool play, to set up for bracket tomorrow, or not tomorrow, tomorrow.
O'Brien with Jeff in the middle as this zone come out again. And as you said, different points of the season for both these teams. But let's not forget the main reason all these players are playing Ultimate is because they really enjoy it. And
oh, yes.
Such a big opportunity for these two teams to play each other. You got the World Club Champions and then the German mixed national team. It's very rare you have a club going up against a country.
Yeah.
Oh, and that one zipping too fast, and we could maybe have a tie game here.
We could. I really appreciate the defensive bid on that under. I think it added a little bit of pressure to make it feel like the window was closing on the downfield attempt, making it come off a little bit more lasery than perhaps intended.
Kawabata coming around the corner there, trying to take it away from Wagener. But she holds under pressure. And Germans looking very confident now. Their tails are high. Daniel Muz shoots again.
Stoppage.
To Wagener. Call in the field. Looks like a pick. I don't know if it affected that undercut from Wagener, who is doing well on a very tough matchup against Rina Kawabata. So the disc will stay with Frederica Wagener. Looks for her reset. Round swing coming, and that one just not released at the right point, and a gift back to BFG. And they're walking up to this one, which is kind of allowing the Germans to set up their zone. And again, sticking with his tactics, swinging around, looking at some yards. Kawabata on the near sideline. Oh, and O'Brien, just a miscommunication. That's what happens when you're forcing to throw many small balls. A lapse in concentration. Gives it back to the Germans. There's an open player in the end zone. That one thrown very high. That's not how you do that. Oh, and terrifyingly, a BFG player comes across and swipes that one out of the air.
Both teams falling victim to kind of the length of this game and the mental tax of having to make smart decisions in the wind against various defensive looks. I think Germany's done a really good job investing in that zone and making all of BFG kind of double check all of their throws, and sometimes you don't holster the right throw or you go a little too fast. But Germany's still falling victim to that themselves. Interesting matchup here.
Oh, and under pressure, can't come down with it. Kieran Kelly, and you see there, they did well there. BFG setting one of their tallest receivers against a shorter deep from Germany, and I think that was a good shot, just can't reel it in. Oh, and some dangerous play there. Kawabata came across, but looks like everyone's okay. And play will continue.
Body control.
Looks like the deep shot's coming now. Communication caught by Ush and now sent to the end zone. Looks like a goal is caught, and disheartened BFG team. We are 9-all right now.
Amazing. Good for Germany finding the energy and momentum to make a comeback in this game. Clearly playing to their strengths right now, both from their efficient offense and from their zone defense. BFG making a few errors that are uncharacteristic of a team coming off of such a high-pressure Worlds tournament. But again, the purpose of that zone is to get you off your rhythm. And if a defense can catch you off your rhythm, they don't need to get a D. They just need to wait for you to make a slightly less advantageous choice a few times and then take advantage in those moments.
Lush there with the assist from Colorado. Karlsruhe out of Germany, another one of the top mixed teams that was at the World Ultimate Club Championships. A timeout called again by BFG. They've done this twice in the second half, trying to kill momentum gained by the Germans. Didn't work the first time. And you see the BFG team actually huddling in two separate circles. Seems like O and D very separate in their discussions.
They're two very different mindsets, offense and defense. So it is important to make sure that your defense is, you know, fiery and fueled and ready to make a play. And it's really important, especially against a zone, to make sure that your offensive players have the mental lockdown and have the focus needed to continue. Still only the second round of pool play at this US Open. This game taking a long time, having a lot of grinded out points. Still just 25 minutes left, but many, many more points to go.
And no team getting a rest today. Everyone having back-to-back games, I believe, all day long. A few rests coming tomorrow as we bring in the youngsters who are going to take up some field space. So, yeah, a big grind this Friday. A lot can happen. And yeah, I think there's this one question to be asked of this BFG team. Can they unlock this German zone? Because, okay, they've scored a few points, but they don't have a definite strategy. And usually if you do, a team stops playing it. And you can see the Germans are really confident in their zone. And I'd like to see them do that play, stretch everyone, try and isolate the space, have a more kind of static approach to it.
Also important for an offense to try different things. BFG mostly have been attacking width-wise and finding themselves trapped on a sideline trying to make very precise throws. This is the first offensive possession that we've seen them try to attack through the middle of this zone. So maybe that's the discussion that they just had in the huddle. Certainly if they can start to zigzag across the field rather than strand players on the sidelines, maybe they'll be able to break through.
There's a lot of options for that over the top to the far sideline, but nobody brave enough to take him on just Faro, and taking his eye off the disc there slightly. Again, keeping with the handlers. Not trying anything too spicy, and allows Germans to kind of sink into this zone and keep the pressure on. And downfield, very static from BFG, just kind of bopping around, and Germans comfortable with it. Gaining some yards though, BFG now. Now they get it to the far sideline. Nice inside pass. Bryson Simon Fox, wearing the colorful hat. It looks like they are transitioning. No, they're staying with the zone, the Germans, which is unusual. 1 yard outside the end zone. And now they tell them to spread it out, and they do just that, and they eventually get the goal. No turn offense.
That was a great offensive possession for BFG. Attacking through the middle this time rather than outside on the sidelines. I think that really allowed them to get yards and put throwers in positions where they had more than one option and more than just that kind of tight away look that they have been focusing on. So rocketing it through the middle of the zone, really advantageous, and maybe the best offensive possession we've seen from them all game. Very still stoic and still really careful, but attacking in a slightly new and different way.
I think the big difference there was some of the BFG players were cutting for other people and not themselves. So we saw there outside the end zone, one BFG player comes streaking across the end zone and drags people out of position, makes them worry about them, but doing so allowed Alyssa Zhu to get free in the back of the end zone. And you need to keep moving, and often you find zone offenses tend to be quite static and like, I'm in a little bit of a space here, I'm just going to hang out here. Sometimes you just need to sprint full throttle to make people be worried about you and maybe drag them a little further than they want to be out of position. And it worked there. You can see them telling them to spread it out, still cut hard. Even though you're looking for space, think about creating space for someone else. If you can drag 2 players with you, that's amazing. But yeah, they get the lead back there.
It's a great pull.
That one not caught, so they'll have a way to go. Stefan Doscher just getting huge to catch what should have been an easy underpass. Oh, and a skipped pass off the hands. Leaves a short field. O'Brien wants to isolate Lily Gu, but he's going to wait for his reset. Sends it back, losing a few yards. Pick being called. We'll see if it stands. And looks like it's going to be retracted. Play continues on.
Go deep.
Deep shot is there. Stefan Doscher onto Hagen. Looks like Hagen might have a good read on that and gets a touch. Sideline is pumped there for Andrew Hagen. You see Doscher had some yards. That one just a tiny bit short. Hagen read it well.
The wind is still picking up a little bit. Maybe not much of a factor still, but enough to consider. This looks a little too far. Anyway, I appreciate the hook look going downwind, giving any team a 2-yard field to try to score what should be an upwind. It's occasionally dangerous, and if you have the right hold and the right grip and someone going deep, it's not a bad idea to send someone.
Hagen got the D, but quickly throws the turnover on that hook. A good pressure around the disc from BFG. Being very dynamic with their transitioning. Oh, and the arcing pass doesn't come off of the German team. Gives them a short field now, BFG. O'Brien takes the loop walk to the disc, wants to give his lungs a break. Now looking for that tight inside lane, and that's probably going to come back for a travel, which it clearly was. As she looks at her feet, she is not on that blue line. But it looks like Hagen was in some space. And you get that inside break off so fast, it's hard to stop the continuation cut. She's going to walk it up now. Good force stops the continuation. O'Brien's going to look for it again, and there we see the OI flick this time into the end zone. 2 great throws from O'Brien.
Yeah, what we've seen over the last 2 points is BFG kind of take control over their own mentality and make some choices, right? We choose to be a little bit more consistent, make a little bit more steady decisions. But we've kind of seen the opposite from Germany. A few looks that were maybe either didn't come off quite correctly. Some of these blades were a little bit high. Some of these things have been popping. A few just inches of a difference between whether it's a good decision or a bad decision, losing a little bit of the discipline that they've had all game, perhaps excited about being in such a close game with BFG. But I think the key for both teams is to kind of stay in their rhythm and keep doing the things that work and not ask anyone on their team to do something new or fancy, but just to batten down the hatches, so to speak.
And one thing that's working very well for them is they seem to have maybe some of their male players handling and isolating some of their female receivers in the end zone. As we saw there, Alyssa Zhu showing her speed, and maybe a lot of their female players not the tallest, but some of the fastest players in the division. You have a lot of players around the 5-foot mark, I think Lily Gu comes in at 4'10", Crystal Koo 5'1". These players aren't tall, but they're isolating them a lot, but they're super fast and get free. And you can see that's why they like the kind of small ball and small spaces, BFG.
Also very good at changing directions on a dime, right? And using their body position and the knowledge of their other teammates to find those spaces. That's really important too. This is, I think, the second offsides call we've had this game.
Yeah, it wasn't the best pull, to be honest, so
he gets a redo.
Yeah, and again, a difference between WFDF and USAU, you'll see the game advisors signal that it is an offside, but it's up to the players themselves to make the call, so it's not binding.
Oh, okay.
Which maybe they would have preferred there, the German team, as probably the first pull wasn't as good as the second. But they're up past the brick mark now, and Huck goes up. That is short and floaty. It's going to be
well read.
A great read. Who else? Tom Droscher is having an exceptional game as he just turns it over, as I say that. Tried to hit the inside lane that BFG have been hitting, but an amazing block.
Yeah, excellent defensive play.
In their own end zone now, but with a chance to continue this run. Oh, dangerous high pass. Could it be cleaned up? No. Not fully aware where that pass was going. Looks like a call is on the field. I'm not even entirely sure if Gerlinde Usch saw what was going on.
So we're going to come back to this play so we can see kind of what happened on this errant throw. Again, a little higher than anyone anticipated.
And we're back in, and it's a turnover from BFG.
Good handler switches here by BFG.
Oh, and what a crazy grab. Tommy Lee comes over, the taller German player, possibly in a better position. And now everyone seems to want to play sky ball, throwing it very high.
A lot of these throws just coming off a little higher than anybody really wants to. It's more of a balance and release point issue, I think. All these teams have throwers that can throw these throws in what amounts to just a slight gust of wind. It's just a discipline and fatigue choice right now.
Yeah, I think it's that fatigue playing a factor on execution of some throws. They'll usually be quite easy. They do get the inside pass to Dumont. Attacking the break side very well, the Germans. The continuation cut is maybe there. Oh, and again. Too high, too wide. Rushed that one. A lot of turnovers in this point, getting quite messy. Let's see if anyone is going to call a timeout, perhaps try and settle the nerves. Get a drop of water.
There have been a lot of timeouts in this game. I don't know if there are any left, actually.
I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe it's 2 timeouts per half.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Then maybe both teams have 1 left?
Yes, I think they have 1 left anyway.
Okay.
But choosing not to use it now. Lee upline. Plenty of deep players. 2 field receivers. Now a third male player joining in. He's going to read that one. Looks like he landed in the end zone. A lot of options to choose from, but it ends up in the hands of Austin Barden. Probably the tallest of the free 3 BFG players in the end zone.
When that throw went off, it looked like it had enough power to make it to the end zone where both of the lady receivers had so much separation. So for Barden to come in just kind of as cleanup crew and end up having to read that disc, which slowed down so much, it's a good thing he followed the play.
Yeah, he's sporting a nice soup strainer there as well. Good to see.
So BFG really showing their experience in these types of situations and putting together a run of their own through a refocused effort with their own discipline. Only 12 minutes left in this game. Do you think Germany can put together a run to meet them at 12?
That was a real make or break point for them to keep this game within 1. Clock is running down. Point cap is only a few away. You don't want to have to try and go on a run of 3 breaks or so, or 4 breaks. You know, you want to keep it at a tighter margin, but now there's a lot for them to do if they want to try and come away with the W. But they'll keep plowing away.
Absolutely. Their offense is certainly efficient enough to score their offensive points pretty quickly. I'm just curious because their defensive strategy has been to slow down the game so much that getting a break might be a really difficult ask at this point in the game if they continue on with that zone look. Wow, what a pull. That was an amazing pull.
Andrew Hagan has been on point with his pulls all game long. Daniel Muz wearing the red cap. Oh, again, another, how many turnovers has come from this German team of trying to hit people and just throwing too high?
I do think you're right, though. I do think it's fatigue. I think the impetus when you're tired is to not step out and like bend your lower body and kind of create that frame because you're tired and your legs are tired, and that affects your throws.
Now looking to stretch lead more, and it's a great shot to the end zone. Looks like she had it for quite a while and spilled out some kind of hole in her breadbasket.
I think she also saw number 11 from the German team approaching in her peripheral vision, maybe was anticipating contact.
That one gift wrap back to the Germans. Looks like BFG had extended their lead, but it's back in the Deutschland hands. Nice spin around swing, a good continuation. Oh, blistering pace, shuts that one down the near sideline. Kyle Terrier showing his pace.
Excellent closing speed and right on the line with that bid.
I felt the German player could have maybe stepped across to try and get his body in the way to prevent him getting a line of attack, but was able to do so. And BFG with it back again. Pick called. Hagan in plenty of space. German player saying it was a pick, but I was maybe a yard or two off, so I'm just going to catch up. And play will continue with Hagan. Now holding on to the disc is Linnea Zhu. Gets it back to Hagan, faking the hammer, looking for his reset. Gets the around, now back to Hagan. Quick give go is there. Do that so well, this BFG team. Now stretching out to O'Brien. Nobody really on the force. It gets the around and some nice fancy footwork. This one is going to be a goal. Linnea Zhu extends the lead to 4. The score is now Seattle BFG, Germany mixed national team 9. Liam Grant alongside Aaron Maraca as we see that little fumble, but it will not matter. They got the goal back.
Yeah, glad to see Sue getting a second chance to score that goal. Again, when you have a thrower like Mario O'Brien on the team, a lot of spaces open up that might be otherwise inaccessible. So good on her for continuing her cut all the way to the sideline. It looks like Kat must have gone on and we missed it.
we knew what was going on.
We knew it the whole time.
I know what's happening here. I was just getting ready to say.
So
and that is the win for BFG out of Seattle. The world champions continue their winning streak here at the US Open.
But a good showing from Germany. A lot of confidence, a lot of really powerful play. I really enjoyed seeing how efficient their offense could be, and this zone is really interesting and should serve them well through the rest of the tournament. Germany did win their first pool play game against Storm, so they are now 1-1, which is a very respectable way to continue pool play, and I think they have a lot of good things to take out of this game and a lot of really good notes going forward, especially if the wind keeps up today. There are definitely some things that they could improve upon in their next game. But they've got all of the building blocks to cause some issues for some teams kind of north of them in the pool, and maybe they'll put together an upset.
Yeah, because this is a loss for them, but you know, this is the best mixed team in the world. It's no shame in that. I can see them definitely picking up a few more wins this tournament. It's going to be hard to make the bracket play, but they're going to give it their all. Big performances from Tom Droscher, Gerlinde Usch as well for the Germany mixed team, but big stand-up performances as well on the Seattle side. Andrew Hagen with those great pulls, also a few assists. Linnea Zhu, Crystal Koo getting involved. There's that crazy hammer catch, probably the highlight of the game. Hagen as well did a lot to carry them into the win. A big comeback after the second half for Tia Journey, but BFG a little too much for them to handle. Liam Grant alongside Aaron Morocca. Thanks very much for watching. Lots more great Ultimate to come.